Welcome and thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Laura Owsley. I'm a past national president and serve as the nominating committee chair for the sorority. Tonight, we will share information on nonprofit board governance, review the types of boards that make up Sigma Kappa, the sorority, the foundation, and the National Housing Corporation. We will share the structure of each of the boards, why to serve, time commitments, and review the timelines and nominating processes. Before we get started, I'd like to share a few Zoom reminders. Closed captioning is available by clicking the closed caption icon at the bottom of the screen. And this meeting is being recorded. The recording will be posted on the Sigma Kappa website so others who are not able to attend tonight are able to watch it. I'm joined by members of the various boards to share the current structure of the national organization. It is our pleasure to be here with you. So let's meet them now.
I'll start off. My name is Tawny James, and I am a trustee for the Sigma Kappa Foundation, currently serving as the president.
And hello, I'm Kelly Bray. I'm also a trustee on the foundation, and I serve as the governance committee chair, but will need to step away during this nomination process. So I'll turn it over to the other Kelly.
Hello, I'm Kelly Schrock. I am a member of the Sigma Kappa Governance Committee and will be chairing it this time.
Hi, I'm Lisa Swantek, and I'm the CEO of the Sigma Kappa Foundation.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Lattimore, and I am the president of the National Housing Corporation.
I'm Jennifer Painter, and I am the chair of the National Housing Corporation Governance Committee.
And I'm Lisa Hubenik. I'm the CEO of the National Housing Corporation.
Hi, I'm Kat Held. I'm National President for Sigma Kappa Sorority.
And I'm Jordan Bentledge. I'm the CEO of the sorority.
All right. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. I'd like to share with you all the duties of a nonprofit board. So let's get into that information for you. Nonprofit board members overall have fiduciary responsibilities that require them to act in the organization's best interest through the duties of care, loyalty, and obedience. If you haven't yet served in a capacity that carries fiduciary responsibilities, the term may sound unfamiliar. The term fiduciary comes from the Latin term for faith or trust. A fiduciary responsibility speaks to the relationship between one party who is obligated to act in the best interest of another party. A fiduciary responsibility is an obligation that prevents one party from acting in their own interest rather than in the interest of the organization. For nonprofits, this ethical commitment makes it possible for them to fulfill their missions. In its truest sense, a fiduciary duty implies that a person who has this type of responsibility conducts themselves according to an ethical standard above what may be legally required. In simple terms, a fiduciary duty demands that a person does what is right, no matter the circumstances. The responsibilities of fiduciaries are governed by federal and state laws as well as common law. So tonight we're going to discuss 4 of the fiduciary responsibilities of nonprofit boards, and those are the duties of care, loyalty, obedience, and foresight. We'll start with the duty of care. And this means acting with the diligence and skill that a reasonable person would use in a similar situation that requires careful decision making. So the steps in this including being informed, so understanding and guiding the mission of the organization, being an active member of the board by participating in meetings, discussions, understanding the financial and programmatic aspects of the organization, and allowing this then to make informed decisions. The duty of loyalty means acting in the best interest of the organization and its mission and avoiding any conflicts of interest. So this means being faithful to the organization and never using information gathered through your work as a board member for any personal gain. It's always putting the best interests of the organization at the forefront. The duty of obedience means acting in accordance with the organization's mission, bylaws, and any applicable laws and regulations. So it means managing the assets of the organization to fulfill its mission and doing that according to the Articles of Incorporation, bylaws, and any federal or state laws that apply. And in Sigma Kappa, we've also added the duty of foresight, which is our strategic and moral obligation for boards of directors particularly in associations, to proactively engage in intentional learning about plausible future scenarios and societal transformations. It involves a structured process for discerning, analyzing, and acting on potential futures. And it's a leadership competency that's a disciplined way of thinking, a process to help envision the future and engage with it. And it requires that board members are inquisitive, critical, and that they use their imaginative thinking.
Thanks, Lisa. In addition to what was just shared, we use the 10 Responsibilities of Nonprofit Boards by Richard T. Ingram to frame the work of the Sigma Kappa boards. The first bucket of responsibility falls into establish organizational identity. And some of the things that fall under establish organizational identity is to determine the mission and purpose and advocate for them. So boards do this by ensuring that the organization's purpose and mission is clearly stated and enthusiastically supported. They do this also by ensuring effective planning. So that means that through the strategic planning process, the boards and staff create goals and objectives to be used to focus resources and energy. And just a note for 2026 that the entities hope to do is to create one organizational strategic plan for all three entities and then have sub-plans for the sorority, the foundation, and the NHC from there. Another bucket is ensuring resources. So ensuring resources means selecting the chief executive officer, and according to Ingram, choosing a new chief executive officer is arguably among the most consequential of board decisions. A board is also responsible for consistently recruiting, supporting, and retaining an effective leader. The boards are also responsible for fundraising and securing adequate financial resources. Now, of course, some boards will have a little bit more fundraising than other boards will. But for those who don't fundraise, they are responsible for ensuring that the organization has the funds it needs and that it does not spend beyond its means. Securing financial resources means something different for each board. So for the foundation, the board members will likely be actively asking people for money. For the sorority, it may be identifying new revenue generating opportunities or increasing and retaining dues paying members. And for the NHC, it may mean making investments, increasing room and board fees, and selling properties. All equally important, all very different in their scope. I just want to check my PowerPoint. I think we're still good. Another responsibility of the board is to build a competent board. So this means working with a governance and/or nominating committee to identify members to serve on the board and cultivating relationships and getting to know our members and their desired skills. And then finally, in this bucket, the other thing is to enhance the organization's public standing. This means that the board serves as the organization's ambassadors and advocates. They attend meetings. They are always responsible for being good representatives of Sigma Kappa in the community and among Sigma Kappa and NPC and fraternal members. Another bucket is providing oversight, which means supporting and evaluating the chief executive officer. It means monitoring and strengthening programs and services. So the board does this by ensuring that the current and proposed programs and services align with the organization's stated missions and purposes. And then they also, to provide oversight, they need to protect assets and provide financial oversight. The board is responsible for working with staff to review and approve budgets, establish monetary policies, ensure adequate operational reserves, and ensuring the organization is not subject to unnecessary risk. All three of the Sigma Kappa entities are multi-million-dollar operations, and the business of the sorority manages a great deal of risk incidents, housing markets, fundraising trends, and markets. Each entity is responsible for being properly insured and maintaining adequate reserves to cover a catastrophe. And then the final area is safeguard legal and ethical integrity. The board is responsible for ensuring adherence to legal standards and ethical norms. We don't want to do anything to put our legal status in jeopardy, meaning that we must follow all state and federal laws as outlined by our specific 501c organization. Kelly.
Great. Thanks, Jordan. Each of our organizations is structured and function a little bit differently. We believe that to succeed in a board role, volunteers need to know what is expected of them during their term of service. I'll start with an overview of what governance is and then share a governance continuum so that we can better understand the types of board governance that each of the entities use. So what is governance? It's a system of oversight, accountability, and decision-making that ensures an organization operates in line with its mission, adheres to laws, and serves the public trust. It involves the board, who provides strategic leadership by setting policies and monitoring their impact, and staff and volunteers who implement the policies and manage daily activities. Effective governance ensures financial responsibility, legal compliance, and long-term stability for the organization. Great, thanks. So this governance continuum is a resource that was shared by a facilitator during governance training with the 3 entities in September. What I really like about this resource is that it's a little easier to see where on the continuum each of our boards may fall and how we can lean into that different type depending on what we are working on. So at the far left, you'll see strategy and policy, and that work focuses on the long-term direction of the organization, including goal and strategy development, policy setting, and overall evaluation and accountability. So very high level. Next is strategy, policy, and management. This work centers on strategy and policy, but also includes some high-level management functions. In the middle is straight management. The work is largely managing operations of the organization, including planning, organizing, directing, supervising, and evaluating. As we move to the right, we've got management and operations. Here, the board primarily manages the operations of the organization, but also serves as the actual workforce for certain administrative or programmatic tasks. And then finally is operations and activities. This work involves carrying out frontline operational tasks of the organization because board members are also the organization's volunteers. So very, very hands-on. It's important to note that any nonprofit organizations are in several spots in the continuum depending on the work that is being done. Next is the board as a body versus an individual. So whatever model is used, a member serving on a board has responsibilities as an individual member of the board and to the board as a whole. So the board as a governing body has responsibilities for making big decisions to move the organization forward, legal oversight of the organization, overall financial stability, and supervision of the chief executive officer, and planning. This is the duty of foresight that Lisa talked about, and ensuring the organization and its leadership are operating with efficiency and making the impact that is defined by the mission and the vision of the organization. Board members as individuals support the organization by offering advice from their position, supporting strategies, being ambassadors, and volunteering their time, talents, and their treasures. So the foundation specifically, the Sigma Kappa Foundation falls into the strategy, policy, and management section of this continuum. The purpose is to raise funds to support our members and the Sigma Kappa experience. So being comfortable with raising money is an important skill. The foundation board members are called trustees. Each trustee has a different role when it comes to fundraising. It may be opening doors, educating others on the foundation and what it does, thanking supporters, and letting people know how valuable their gift is and how it makes a difference, and asking for gifts from people they know. These can all be things that a trustee does. The foundation's day-to-day operations are run by staff members. Staff members are paid employees who may or may not be Sigma Kappas. Because of the smaller staff, though, the staff does lean into the experience of the trustees to gain valuable perspectives, insights, and professional expertise. The foundation uses a skills matrix to fill open board positions during the slating of new board members. Each of the returning board members' skills are placed in the matrix, indicating their areas of expertise. The skills matrix illuminates areas that are in need in those areas and highlighting those when putting out the call for nominations. The foundation structure. We have 3 officers in the foundation: the president, the vice president of administration, and the vice president of finance. We also have a national council liaison and 7 to 9 trustees. We also have 4 active committees and an active regional structure of volunteers through the foundation district directors and the collegiate philanthropy coordinators. So the time commitment and expectations for trustees. We have monthly board meetings that are approximately 1 to 1.5 hours each, and then the preparation to get ready for those meetings. We have 1 to 2 weekend in-person board meetings a year, as well as the committee work, entity calls with the other entities quarterly, and 1 in-person annually. At convention, we encourage trustees to attend, not just for the business meetings and the work of the organization, but also for some special in-person conversations with potential donors. And obviously fundraising with donor meetings, events, and contacts. So why serve on the foundation? It's a good place for you to serve if you have a vested interest in educational programs for Sigma Kappa sorority and for the National Housing Corporation. If you desire to strengthen charitable support for Sigma Kappa, if you believe in the mission to enhance the member experience, and to support members in need. The nomination process and timeline. Foundation trustees can be nominated by individual members of the organization, or they can be self-nominated, and we encourage that as well. As we shared in a previous slide, the foundation utilizes a skill matrix to identify the best candidates based on gaps in the current board experience. Expectations include being an active trustee by attending monthly meetings, serving on a committee or sometimes 2, and yes, advocating for the foundation and asking those in your circle to give in meaningful ways to the foundation. However, the foundation does not select trustees based on the amount a member has given in the past. However, most trustees have been donors at varying levels at some point in time. It's important to stress that foundation needs trustees who are passionate about the work of the foundation. You'll see that in January and February of 2026, applications will be reviewed and interviews will be conducted with potential trustees. The slate will be presented to the Foundation Board of Trustees in February and voted on the February 18th trustee meeting. And by March 1st, offers will be made to new trustees. Thanks. Lisa, I think we're over to you.
Yeah, so sharing information about the NHC's Board of Directors tonight, we have Jennifer Painter, our chair of our governance committee, and Marianne Lattimore, our board president. So Jennifer, I'll turn it to you. And Jennifer, you look like you might still be muted.
Oops. S- The National Housing Corporation uses more of a hybrid model for our governance, with the board's activities ranging from strategy, policy, and maintenance to management and operations on the governance spectrum. The NHC provides a high level of trust and confidence to the chief executive officer. The board works very much as a team with the CEO, who manages the staff, while the board members manage the volunteer team members. The board is responsible for setting overall strategy and policies for the NHC, thereby fulfilling those responsibilities of the board. The president and board members, each of whom have specific subject matter expertise, have regular meetings with the CEO to give and get updates on the organization's activities. Designated board members also support the few standing committees, which include governance, finance, and investment. Responsibility for the member local corporations extends through a participation agreement. The staff team primarily provides financial services to the member corporations. Other services are led and provided by board members using the management team. Within the management team, rather than hiring paid employees to be responsible for administering the duties of the organization, the board forms volunteer teams and committees to perform those duties. The board and coordinators also make up the voting members of the NHC. When the NHC expands its services to local housing corporations and the expense of staff is justified, then staff becomes responsible for the duties once held by a vice president. For instance, project management, property management of corporations in the homes program, and human resources are a few responsibilities that have transitioned into staff position over the past decade. The NHC board is currently considering a transition for their activities to become more concentrated in the strategy and policy areas and less so in management and operations. We expect this transition to take place at sometime during the biennium.
As Jennifer mentioned, each of the NHC board members has a particular area of subject matter expertise on which her work as an individual board member focuses. The president focuses on governance and strategy. The vice president of finance, oversight of the NHC finances, and supervising the coordinators who assist local corporation boards with financial matters. The vice president of homes and housing operations, that oversight of local corporation operations and supervising the coordinators who provide support and technical assistance to local house corporations. The vice president of property management, that's oversight of the physical properties, chapter houses, suites, lodges, and supervision of the coordinators who provide technical assistance on construction and remodeling projects. The vice president of communications and engagement, that's oversight of the NHC's print and online communications and the overall engagement of volunteers at the national and local level, including supervision of coordinators on her team who assist with these efforts. The vice president of programming is oversight over the NHC's educational programming and resource materials, as well as supervision of the coordinators who assist with the development and presentation of the NHC's educational offerings. We have a National Council liaison that serves as an ex officio voting member of the NHC board. Each biennium, National Council determines which of their vice presidents will serve in this role. As far as the time commitment goes, we have a monthly board meeting that can run 1 to 2 hours. Board meeting preparation, meaning reading the board packet of materials, have been compiled to educate the board members on the matters that will come before the board. Generally takes about 1 to 1.5 hours. We have a weekend in-person meeting, spring and fall, Friday evening until Sunday midday. Convention, team supervision and project work, and then we have a monthly call with each board member has a monthly call with the CEO. Why serve on the NHC? Overall, the most rewarding part of NHC service is knowing that we're here to ensure that Sigma Kappa collegians have a great housing experience, maintain the integrity and sustainability of Sigma Kappa properties, share or build knowledge and expertise in areas such as organizational development, accounting, finance, property management, real estate, higher education, construction, design, or communications. We have outstanding industry colleagues and business partners with whom we work to carry out our mission.
Of the governance committee includes the following: to promote and provide education about the NHC, Sigma Kappa housing, and governance to board members. Organize in collaboration with the CEO and Vice President of, I can't remember what PP, property management, board education and development activities. We assess the NHC's governance needs, identify, nominate, and orient new board members, ensure annual valuation process is implemented, ensure volunteer agreements are provided and executed by board members, and conduct a board self-assessment every 2 years. The governance committee is actively involved in succession planning as opposed to a static biennial nomination process, and is continually identifying and developing potential future leaders for the organization. The NHC's voting membership is comprised of the NHC Board of Directors, coordinators, and standing committee chairs. It is not a representative board of corporations, meaning that house corporations that participate in the NHC do not hold voting rights within the organization. Individuals who are interested in serving on the board can self-nominate or be nominated by others. It is not required that nominees be current NHC or local corporation board members. NHC Board of Directors nominations are to be conducted January through April in the year of the Sigma Kappa convention. The most significant steps in the process are the following. Nominations are open from mid-January to mid-February. You're eligible to submit nominations are current board members, coordinators, committee members, and participating corporation board presidents. The governance committee reviews nominations and conducts interviews. The committee announces the slate by March 1st, and any additional nominations are due by April 1st. The final slate of officers and additional nominees are announced by April 15th, and the election takes place at convention. The governance committee and the CEO coordinate orientation and/or transition for slated candidates throughout the summer.
Thanks, Jennifer. As you're likely aware, the sorority has shifted from an operations and activities board to a governance board in 2022. So this means that the board, still known as National Council, is in the strategy and policy side of the continuum. National Council members' work focuses on the long-term direction of the organization, the goal and strategy development, policy setting, and overall evaluation and accountability. They set the direction for the organization and monitors strategic plan by operating with foresight to prepare for the future. They hire the CEO for the sorority. They protect the assets and ensure financial resources. They vote on motions as outlined in the National Policy Handbook, and they serve as ambassadors for Sigma Kappa. This is different from how National Council used to operate when vice presidents oversaw specific subject areas and managed volunteer teams. The National Council structure is made up of a national president, a vice president for finance, and 6 national vice presidents. The terms are 2 years, and members of National Council are elected by the convention delegates. The vice presidents other than the Vice President for Finance, are limited to 5 terms as a Vice President during their lifetime. The National President and the Vice President for Finance are limited to 2 terms in each of those offices during their lifetime. Past service on National Council does count towards these lifetime limits. So the time commitment and expectations. National Council has a monthly board meeting, usually between 1 and 3 hours long. The board meeting prep time is usually an hour to an hour and a half for those meetings. They do have entity meetings, quarterly calls with the other entities. The National President has a weekly call with the CEO. National Vice President for Finance has monthly calls with staff and quarterly calls with the Finance, Investment, and Audit Committees. And some of the travel time is approximately 15 days per year. There is a weekend in-person board meeting twice a year and a weekend entity meeting with all three entities. And then, of course, convention. So why serve the sorority? The National Council sets the direction for the sorority, makes strategic decisions, influences policy that will impact the future of the sisterhood, and ensure the organization's financial health. Another reason to serve, to ensure the long-term success by overseeing the performance of the sorority, ensuring that resources are used wisely, and that the strategic vision is being met. Another reason and good reason to serve the sorority, you can bring your professional skills to the board. Sigma Kappa looks for members with professional expertise and nonprofit board experience. This is a perfect platform to apply your skills, whether you have a background in business, nonprofit management, marketing, finance, or another field. And of course, this is a great opportunity to serve our sisterhood. Serving a National Council allows you to ensure that the organization's values and goals are being executed in a way that benefits all members. We have a great opportunity to serve on National Council, promotes the values of Sigma Kappa to current and future members. And of course, to set an example for members by showing them ways to give back to Sigma Kappa beyond those 4 years of college. The requirements to be nominated for National Council. First, must be an initiated member of Sigma Kappa, be an alumna in good standing for a minimum of 5 years, cannot simultaneously be a salaried employee of the sorority, the foundation, or the NHC. And although the requirements to be nominated for National Council are limited, the bylaws do require that the nominating committee to consider these qualifications in creating a slate of officers. The nominating committee does look at Sigma Kappa sorority experience, qualifications for the specific office for which they are nominated, availability and willingness to carry out duties, a history of donating to the Sigma Kappa Foundation, a history of alumni chapter membership or payment of national alumni dues, and the nominating committee also looks at non-sorority leadership experience, including experience serving on the foundation or the NHC boards or any other professional boards. The nominating process timeline. Recommendations are open from November 1st through December 15th. Once a member is recommended, qualifications per the bylaws are verified by NHQ, and the recommended member is notified of the recommendation and asked to submit the National Council information form by January 15th in order to be considered. After January 15th, the National Council information form is due. Council information form is received at NHQ, and the member officially becomes a candidate for a National Council office. All candidates are considered by the nominating committee during the process to slate the next National Council. Nominating committee is made up of 1 representative from each district, plus a chairman who is a past National Council member. The nominating committee members are elected by each district at National Convention. We elected the nominating committee in the summer of 2022. The nominating committee will choose one candidate for national president and vice president for finance and 6 candidates for national vice presidents. The slate is presented to the membership by March 15th. Following the presentation of the nominating committee slate to the members, any 5 members with at least 2 of the members from outside the district in which the nominee resides may submit a nomination by filing the required form with the nominating committee chairwoman by April 10th, who will share the information within 24 hours of receipt with the nominating committee. Any against the slate must have already participated in the process up to this point by submitting a National Council information form. On April 10th, nominations against the slate are due. April 15th, the updated slate is presented to the membership, and nominations made after that announced slate and qualifications of the individual being nominated shall be presented in the same manner as the nominating committee slate by April 15th. Any vacancies in the slate after the presentation of the slate to the membership will require the nominating committee to present a new candidate for the vacant position. It is important to know that all trustees, NHC board members, and National Council members are all members of Sigma Kappa. We work as sisters, members of the same organization, for the good of Sigma Kappa as a whole. We are each elected to perform specific duties within the entity that we serve. So many of us have served as members of the other 2 boards, which is a unique opportunity. Lifelong friendships have come from serving on the national board of Sigma Kappa. What we can share with all of you is that our lives are enriched because of this opportunity and the ability to serve Sigma Kappa at a higher level. We hope that this presentation has been helpful and informative for you, and we would take any questions that anyone might have. Being no questions, again, thank you for your time and what you have done or are still doing to keep Sigma Kappa strong and vibrant. May we all work with one heart and one way as we do the work of Sigma Kappa. Good night.